When was the last time you went to a chiropractor? Have you ever been to a chiropractor? Do you have a limiting belief about chiropractic care? I know that everybody has a different perspective, and I believe this may be the first class with a chiropractor talking about chiropractic. Many chiropractors do other things, like, we have Dr. Bradley Nelson, who is a chiropractor, but he does the emotion code. But today we have my chiropractors in the classroom because I am really excited to share. They're going to be at the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit. Yes, if you have been told that, you need to go see a chiropractor and somebody says, oh, no, you don't need to go see a chiropractor. You need to do this. Listen up, because today we will discover with chiropractic doctors Renee Hahn and Carissa Stallings the different ways to improve your body and create a brain to body connection.
And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
Hi, my name is Lily McDermott, and I am a certified life coach and the host of the Lily and McDermott radio show Classroom. If this is the first time that you are joining us in the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Well, today we are going to take lots of notes. So make sure you have your pencil and paper or pen and paper, because we're going to learn a new way of chiropractic care. Not all chiropractic care is created equal. As a matter of fact, I've been injured by a chiropractor in the past, and I was very happy to find the different kind of chiropractic care called Upper Cervical Chiropractic. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Renee Hahn and Dr. Carissa Stallings is here to do just that. Welcome, ladies, to the classroom.
Thank you, Lily.
Thank you. Oh, wow, that was beautiful harmony. I couldn't have planned that myself. That's wonderful. So, I'm really, how long, Dr. Renee, how long have we been talking about you being in the classroom?
A long time. I've been in my office for 12 years, so at least 10 of that, I'm sure.
Well, in 2014 was the first time I visited Dr. Renee. Since then, she has had wonderful doctors training underneath her. One of them is Dr. Carissa Stallings, and I'm so excited that both of them are there. Both of you are going to be at the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit, right?
We will be.
Ma'am.
Let me tell you, after Dr. Renee spoke at the summit, you would think she was selling crack. There was a line of people. She didn't sell crack. She was sharing how you could feel when you are in alignment with your spine and brain. So let's get started. And Dr. Renee, we'll start with you. I want to share a little bit about your background and what led you to upper cervical chiropractic care, when you could have chosen the traditional, what we know of the whole body type of thing.
Right. And the cool thing is we're not selling crack and we don't twist or crack the spine either.
That's right. That's right.
That's what I point out.
That's great.
But yeah, my upper cervical journey, so to speak, was a little different. I've been under chiropractic care since I was 2 years old, traditional type. It's the way that our family stayed healthy in our household. And then when I was in my mid-30s, I decided to go to chiropractic school to become one. And 2 months after I got there, I had what I thought was a minor car accident, but it was just one more trauma that I took to my spine that literally set me over the edge, to the point where I quickly started losing my health, function of my arms and hands, low back pain and left hip was getting worse, GI issues, so many issues going on. And unfortunately, traditional chiropractic, the cracking type of adjustment was making me worse. So they literally stopped adjusting me in the student clinic, the general clinic. No chiropractor would actually crack my neck anymore. So after about 2 years of suffering and finding out that they taught that I wouldn't be a chiropractor because I couldn't feel anything anymore, that's when I finally decided to try this weird thing called upper cervical. That's what I thought at the time. And it was done with sound. And within a short amount of time, I went to that doctor and I said, you know, I'm really skeptical about what you do, but if you can help me, you've got me. And sure enough, within a short amount of time, I was amazed at the difference. And this correction, I didn't even feel it. It was so gentle, but so corrective because of where we were working. So
And the rest is history.
basically, yes, yes.
Yes, and that's wonderful. So thank you for that. You know, I really do believe that when you learn something from a textbook, it's good, but when you learn something in real life, it's even better. It's I don't know, it's a knowing. And I didn't realize what pain was until I experienced pain in my car accident as well, that you helped me out immensely. So let's share a little, we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But what about you, Dr. Carissa? Would you like to share what brought you to chiropractic care?
Of course. I grew up in sports, as well as my older brother, and he went to a chiropractor. He said, Carissa, you need to go see my chiropractor. I feel amazing. So what do little sisters do? They follow their big brother's footsteps, and I went and saw the chiropractor. After my first traditional adjustment, I decided at 14 that was exactly what I wanted to do with my life. So I proceeded, followed all the steps, got to chiropractic school, was planning on practicing traditional chiropractic up in Georgia with that chiropractor when I accidentally found Epic, which is the name of the upper cervical technique we practice. I was in my last year of chiropractic school. I needed a couple more elective hours and it just fit perfectly in my schedule. So I thought, okay, I don't even know what Epic stands for, but throw me in. I'll do it. I'll get my hours and be done. So I took the first class with Dr. Stan Pierce Jr., who created this technique. And I thought, okay, interesting, but I already have everything set up in Georgia. I don't want to switch everything. No, I'm comfortable. I'm safe up here. I'm good. 4 or 5 months later, we have an annual symposium. And Dr. Pierce told me, just sign up. I know it's 5 months away, but just sign up. I thought, okay, sure, I'll sign up. I'll get the research and I'll take it back with me to Georgia and apply it traditionally. 5 months later, right before I graduate, I go to the symposium, and the first night I knew I couldn't go back to traditional.
Wow.
I couldn't. It's too specific, too good. It makes too much sense not to practice this technique.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad that you went to that symposium. Sometimes it's our intuition that drives us and we don't even know it. And here you are, both of you. Now, both of you said the words, I was under traditional care. Both of you said it was working for you until. So let's go there. Dr. Renee, let's start with you. You, since the age of 2, experienced traditional care. Now, what are the differences between upper cervical and traditional care?
So traditional care is when you approach the whole spine from the get-go, I would say. You're also using techniques where you're manually manipulating the spine. Where with upper cervical, you're focusing in the first top 2 bones in your neck, C1 and C2, known as atlas and axis. What makes those so special is really what sits inside of there. And that's where the brainstem is basically transitioning into the cord. So literally anything that occurs in your body below that area has to communicate with the brain through there and vice versa. So that's the biggest difference. And the fact that we're approaching it, it's all based on 3-dimensional digital X-ray. So we're getting within a 1/4 of a degree of where your bone goes. And we're using sound wave so you don't feel the correction. So there's no trauma to the tissues around the levels that we're adjusting or correcting in the spine. And then it gives you that systemic effect because, like I said, the spinal cord's communicating with the brain. You've got vagus nerve going right through there, which a lot of people know what vagus nerve is doing these days because it's so well talked about, in charge of the things that we don't think about. So it's just approaching that area first so that then your body can start to heal. Nerves can actually be in a point where they can communicate, and the spine will start to hold in place rather than having to be corrected all the time. Because what I noticed was I used to go mostly for low back and left hip pain because I had an accident when I was young that really affected my low back and left hip. So it would help, it would get rid of it for a period of time, but I always had to go back. And sometimes 3 times a week for 4 to 5 weeks. So what I noticed with upper cervical was within a short amount of time, my low back and left hip pain had went away with no manipulating down below whatsoever, just the upper cervical. And within a short amount of time, that went away, and I haven't had it again since 2008.
Wow.
So it's a corrective type of care. Now, I've had other traumas since then where I've had other things spark up, like I fell or things like that. But upper cervical has always been a piece of the puzzle of getting back to health again. And that's with anything. A lot of times I'll use, and it's kind of a tragic story, what happened to Christopher Reeves, Superman. But I like to use him as an example because his injury was right here. He broke we'll call it the knob on C2 that sticks up, C1 wraps around it. That's where all of your nerves are communicating once again. He severed almost 98% of his nerves right at that area. And what happened to him? He lost full body function, including his breathing. So literally your body's controlled by here. So if we go here first, even if you need some other ancillary adjustments in the rest of the spine, it will go better and last longer if you get this first, the main switch in the fuse box, so to speak.
Very good. Anything you'd like to add, Dr. Carissa, to what she just said?
She kind of hit the nail on the head with that one. I would have to be in the same boat. When I was going to traditional chiropractic, I felt like I was going constantly. And it gets a little pricey, especially when you're younger and you're trying to save up. With upper cervical care, you don't have to come as often. It's nice, as much as I love my patients, I don't want to see them in the office all the time.
That's a good point. So, and for those of you who have had automobile accidents, here's the problem. The traditional chiropractic care is like, you got to go every other day or whatever. And so Dr. Renee would adjust me and she'd say, okay, come next week or come in 2 weeks and then of course, because of insurance trying to manipulate where you go and how many times you go, they're beginning to think, well, maybe she's not as injured as someone who's going every day. How do you combat the insurance, Dr. Renee? Because it is your office, it is your practice. I'll ask you this question: how do you combat and educate the insurance business that you don't need to manipulate or treat as much as if somebody was doing the traditional, which saves them money,
That's really an interesting conundrum, we'll call it that, because we're still trying to figure out how to do that. They don't tend to pay attention to our notes to even understand that we're using a different technique, unfortunately. I do personal injury if they come in. It makes it very difficult to work with insurance companies, I'll be honest with you, because they don't acknowledge that we're doing something different. So they expect us to see our patients more frequently when really you've got to give the nervous system time to heal and time to change before you go back in and make other adjustments and so forth, because you will see the body change as the upper cervical region starts to hold. I'll just be upfront about this. In our office, we're not in network. We're out of network because of those reasons. We don't want to have to see you as often. Medicare, also, they will not reimburse the sound wave because they want it done by hand. They also think it's okay not to take x-rays. They will not reimburse x-rays, which is ludicrous considering all the different things that can happen to your neck. So we still do that in our office. And then the insurance companies and Medicare, for some people, depending on their choice, it will reimburse them on the back end. But in all honesty, Lily, we're still trying to figure out how to get the word out there about the fact that what we're doing is so different.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why the EPIC technique, we're so excited about working with this technique, because we're actually on the road of franchising clinics and trying to get the sound wave technique out there more for the general public.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So with the total care, there's the cracking. We said you don't give away crack and you don't crack the back. But here's the thing. And I sometimes, and we joke a little bit about the torture chamber, like you're gonna torture me. You're like when I don't know what it is with me. Like I'm like so rotated. Even Dr. Carissa, when she saw me, she goes, "Wow, your rib cage." And I was like, Dr. Renee says the same thing. So why am I not? Why are some people not holding their, when I was being cracked by a traditional doctor, it still, it did not, it caused me an injury actually. And when I started coming to you, explain how you do the trigger point, the gun that you have, that and why some people may not hold. I don't know who would like to answer that question.
You got that one.
I got it.
Okay.
So basically, so we start with the upper cervical first. We start with the epic correction first, always, 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 no matter what we do in here, because that is going to allow the body to start to heal from, like I said, the brainstem spinal cord area. From there, once we give it a little time of holding, then we will start using what we call the activator, which a lot of chiropractors do use the activator, but they don't necessarily get the upper cervical first, which I think is the key piece is get that upper cervical region first, and then you can make changes through the rest of your body. Everyone holds at different levels and time frames. We just had a patient that was in a couple weeks ago that they've been holding for 4 years, their upper cervical correction. They had some other things going on, so we use the activator to help them through that. We have patients that want to come in for maintenance once every 2 or 3 months. They might hold their upper cervical correction for a year or two, and we're just doing maintenance on other areas of the spine because we do have habits that are not conducive to the human body, such as our phones, computers, sitting more than what the normal human being should do. Those are all things that affect our bodies, that we need to maybe tweak some areas, might pull them out of alignment. I always tell people in the beginning that at some point, especially new patients that are kind of skeptical, I tell them at some point this is going to become a choice of health for you. Because for me, in my world, this is part of my health team for forever. This is how we stay healthy in our family. When we start to get sick, we get a correction, and usually the sickness will not manifest because it's the best boost to your immune system that you can get. But what I tell them is hopefully we will have educated you enough about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how this can help you stay healthy, age better, and keep you in an upright position rather than starting to get that curve over appearance that older people do throughout your lifetime. Because we have babies that come in here that are off of alignment. You correct a baby's upper cervical region, you can see colic go away, ear infections, torticollis, projectile vomiting, sleeping improves. Like any age can come in and see results for sure.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, you said a couple times epic method. So I've known traditional, then I knew upper cervical, and now there's an epic method. Dr. Carissa, can you share what the difference is of the two? Because that's what called you into upper cervical chiropractic care.
Absolutely. So traditional, kind of like Dr. Renee said earlier, is a manual approach, a full body approach. Epic is the name of the specific technique we use. It actually stands for Evolutionary Percussive Instrument Corrections. An epic technique is a form of upper cervical chiropractic care.
Okay, so that is but how is it different than upper cervical? So it's a different, but what is different about the different form of upper cervical versus epic?
So upper cervical actually was the way BJ Palmer adjusted people way back when, over 100 years ago. Like he was all about HIO, which is called hole in one, but he was doing it with a hand. So over the years, there's been different hand techniques that are upper cervical techniques. Nuka, Blair, Grostic. There's a few others also, but they're done by hand. So they're still done the traditional way.
Okay.
About 40 years ago, Dr. Sweat, God rest his soul, Dr. Sweat came up with a sound wave technique because he had a friend that had injured his hand and couldn't be a chiropractor anymore unless he had an instrument that he could use. And he knew that if we could approach it in a more gentle way, that the spine would probably respond better, which is exactly what they found. So that's when Atlas orthogonal was born. Now that has transformed over the years. I'm board certified Atlas orthogonist, so I started there. Then I switched to advanced orthogonal, which is another step separate from that, which is another sound wave technique. And then about 4 to 5 years ago, Epic was born, and that is more upgrades to the technique. And they also upgraded the table that we're doing the corrections with. So
Okay.
that's how that progression occurred.
Okay, because since 2014, I've been getting that little sound in my C1 and getting and so I didn't understand when you were, Dr. Carissa, when you were talking about manual versus sound and all that. I didn't quite understand because I've been since 2014. I thought that was all upper cervical. And it is upper cervical, but now it's been upgraded to a new method. Or is the sound better, or I mean, the table is better. I can testify to that, but is the sound different, Dr. Renee?
It would be lighter.
Lighter.
Interesting enough, the phrase lighter is righter is definitely it holds true in the upper cervical alignment for sure, because our table gets another vector of correction that we weren't able to do on the older table with the AO and the advanced orthogonal that we can get with the Epic table now. But also the sound frequency, the sound impulse that we're using has also been turned down. And our mentor, Dr. Pierce, who Carissa mentioned earlier, he's the techie guy. He's the guy, he now has the sound wave measured. He has the frequency. Like if you have any listeners that really want to go technological on us, we can get all that information for them.
Okay.
But yeah, he's the geek that really wants to measure the sound and get it all. We are just, okay, we've got the sound, we know what we're doing, let's move on. So he's got all those explanations, but it's absolutely amazing.
You just know it works. You just know
Yes,
it works.
and the
That's what
miracles on a
and a
daily
miracle
basis.
happens. And a miracle
Literally
happens.
on a daily basis.
Yeah. And let me tell you, there have been times, I don't know if you remember, this was back in 2014, 2015. I was rear-ended. I was part of a 3-car rear-ended. This is not the one in 2017. And I was having pains in the back of my head all the way to the front. And it was like radiating, and it felt like there was a knife being jabbed into my brain. And it was I went to the ER. I mean, we didn't know what was happening. I had never experienced that kind of pain. And I remember after leaving the ER, I said to Robert, I need to go see Dr. Renee. And I went to see you. You fit me in right away, which I thought was great. And then you felt in the back, and you felt like the fluid from my spine to my brain was not flowing. Share a little bit about how you feel these things. When I touch back there, I just feel bone and skin and hair and all that. But you're like a bone whisperer or C1 whisperer. So, or a spinal fluid whisperer. Like I sometimes go to you and I say, well, I'm not gonna tell you where it hurts. And you go right to the spot. You're like reading Braille on my body, and you're able to do that. So how do you do that?
So the upper cervical region, when it's off of alignment, there will be a nerve root. A technical term is called the dorsal root ganglion that will actually inflame to the point where you can feel that. Also, what you can feel at times, and this is, I'm sure what I was doing with you, is you can feel whether or not the cerebral spinal fluid is flowing towards the back of the head, because there's like a pulse that you'll feel. And on one side, yours was occluded so that it was not flowing the way that it should bilaterally. So once we got you corrected, you could feel that flow change. Interesting enough, which is even cooler because we've got it on MRI. There's a doctor that's doing some research for us that has pre and post motion MRI of the fluid changing throughout the brain. So he has a brain MRI of all the little caverns and different areas of the brain where the CSF flows to get the toxins out of the brain. After correction, he'll do that motion MRI again, and you can literally see the pooling go away. Where it's stagnant, where it's
Wow.
not moving, it will start
Wow.
moving again. So we cannot wait for that information to go out, to get out there for sure.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah. What about you, Dr. Carissa? What has been exciting for you now in practice? You've graduated, you've been there for almost a year now, and I can attest that she's very gentle and very apologetic when she was hurting me. Just like Dr.
Every
Renee,
once in a while
sorry,
makes a tender
sorry, sorry,
spot.
Yeah.
sorry, sorry. I know this is gonna, because I was hurting, not because you were hurting me. You were touching areas that needed to be reactivated, I guess. So let's what has been your greatest joy?
Well, actually, I know I just kind of got out of school about almost a year and a half ago, and I decided to go right back to school because I'm so obsessed with this area of the body. And so it's actually called my Diplomate of Chiropractic Craniocervical Junction Procedures.
Oh,
And we are taking what we know and just diving deeper and deeper and deeper into that specific area to learn as much as we possibly can. And right now, that's the biggest, most exciting thing, is taking what I'm learning and then bringing it back and sharing and applying it in the office. It's exciting.
like you don't have enough to do, right?
Right.
We are overachievers. Okay, so no, this is really great information. So let's go back to, why would somebody come to you? Why would somebody choose you versus someone else? Is there a point where traditional chiropractic works for someone and it may not work for others? Who would like to answer that?
So traditional chiropractic has its place for sure.
Okay.
However, when we're talking about the upper cervical region, I firmly believe at this point in my career and in my knowledge of that region that we should be as specific and gentle as we can, because you have so many structures coming up through that area. The vertebral artery comes right up from C6 all the way up through the transverse processes of the vertebrae out of C1. So it can affect arterial flow going to the brain. It can affect internal jugular flow coming out of the brain. It can affect carotid artery. It can affect CSF flow like we were talking about. A lot of times we are told, you're my last ditch effort. You're my last effort before surgery. Interesting enough, sometimes when we have a certain symptomatology come in, they'll come in waves. And lately that's been vertigo. We've had a lot of vertigo patients lately. I had one that came back today. He's had vertigo probably for the last 2 years, I want to say. And as of today, he hasn't had it for the last 2 months.
Good.
He was having it on a daily basis to where he could not function normally as far as looking out and balance wise. Dr. Chris had a really cool one that came in of a younger gentleman that, go ahead. You know what I'm talking
Healthy,
about?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, healthy, tall gentleman, just lightly bumped his head one day. And when I called him to bring him back for his first visit, you would have thought he was a drunken sailor, just going side to side, bless his heart, with vertigo. He couldn't even walk straight. And he was a skeptic, like a good handful are, which are our favorite,
Yes.
stay skeptic as long as you can. After his first correction, he got off that table and walked straight out the door. No side to side, no dizziness. And you could see his face. It didn't register to him that he was able to just walk a straight line. It was amazing.
I hope you videotaped it. You
We were two in
hindsight,
the
right?
moment, two in the
Yeah,
moment.
you're in
I
the
went back to my
moment.
office and started just crying. I was so happy for
Wow.
him.
Yeah. And you know
Cry a
that,
while
and
ago.
that's what I know. And that's what I know. You guys really care. You guys really care. And that is why I'm excited that Dr. Renee and Dr. Carissa will be at the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit. I want to encourage you today, if you would like to purchase your tickets, enter Lily 005 and you will get $24 off your ticket. So if you have a VIP ticket, you get $24 off. If you have a regular admission, that's $24 off. But here's what we're going to do, because we love to give in the classroom. So if for those of you who are watching today's class, and I know that Dr. Renee has a lot of fans, a lot of followers, so make sure you do this right away. And tomorrow I am going to pick, because we don't have much time. If you haven't gotten your tickets, what are you waiting for? We don't have much time. So tomorrow, which is April 3rd, I am going to pick out 2 tickets, or one name, and give them 2 tickets. If they want 1 ticket, then we'll give another person a ticket. We'll pick another name. So the first person that gets picked, and once they just need to text me at Lily, take me at 407-373-5959. Just text me your name and text me Lily 005. That way I know that you want a free ticket from Dr. Renee's class today. So we're going to be doing this tomorrow. So don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till later on. You might forget. And we're going to put all the names that come in the winner's basket, and we're going to draw out 2 names, or 1 name, 2 tickets, sorry. And it might be 2 tickets or 2 names, depending on if they have someone they would like to bring. So just know that's going to happen. And by the way, go to whenyouneedafriend.com while you're there. Please subscribe to the classroom. When you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, it will pop up and you'll see all the wonderful teachers. We'll have, Dr. Renee Hahn. She's going to be one of the speakers. I don't know if Dr. Carissa is going to be speaking alongside with her, but we'll have, Dr. Thomas Levy, Dr. Joel Furman, Dr. Joel Furman will be zoomed in from California. And then we have Dr. Jennifer Grameth, Brendan Legal, who's going to be talking about, pain. I will, of course, will be talking about the mindset, because it's very important. You come to these events and you really need to have an open mind, because some of the things you're going to hear are things that are different than what you were taught when you were a kid, over and over as an adult, over and over again. I mean, all of us have those moments where all of a sudden, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Maybe this is you. And later we're going to be talking about some of the reasons why somebody should go to see a chiropractor, especially upper cervical, especially epic clinics as well. So when you are at whenyouneedafriend.com, please not only subscribe, but like and follow me on all social media. Check out my sponsors, support my sponsors the way that they are supporting the classroom. You can also go to my Shop Now bag, and you can look at all these Lily approved products that will give you some discounts. Some of them it's an affiliate, some of them are not. I just want to make sure that you know how important this information is, that you get to get some discounts while you're there. Now, again, we have the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit on April 6th. Even though we start at 9, we're going to open our registration table at 7:30. Why? Because we want everybody to play. We're going to have great vendors, and each one of them is going to have something for you. So there's going to be a swag bag. There's going to be raffles. We're getting donations from, even Costco is giving a $50 donation. So I get to go shopping for the raffle for those of you. I think I'm going to apply for the raffle too. So every one of you will have an opportunity to not only win the wisdom that you're going to be getting, but you'll also get prizes too, and little trinkets from each different table. You'll have something to learn. You'll get not free adjustments, but free. I know that Dr. Jennifer Grameth is going to have the lymphatic therapy for the neck and face. And that was we had to shut her down. We said, okay, it's 7 o'clock, we got to go. So we had over 120 people last year. It was so wonderful that I hope that all of you choose to come and be part of the solution. The I Am is the God in you, the higher power in you that says you can heal naturally if you give the body what it needs. Last but not least, you can give, you can can go to whenyouneedafriend.com and then it'll pop up and you can check all the information there. Last but not least, you can donate to the classroom. You can be an enrolled student in the classroom, whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month or a one-time donation, whatever the case might be. We encourage you to do that so that we can continue growing together. Heck, just sharing this video today with everybody you know, tag Lillian's radio show if it's on Facebook, or Lillian McDermott if it's on Instagram, and so that they know where to go. When you tag this video, send it to them. Let them know that we're about the business of growing and learning together how to be as healthy, as naturally as possible. Today we have Dr. Renee Hahn and Dr. Carissa Stallings. Both of them are chiropractic doctors. They have a practice in beautiful Melbourne, Florida. This is where I go. You guys know way too much about me. Okay, this is where I go. You can go to epicclinics.com, or you can call 321-622-4447. 4447. This is a way that you can maybe set up an appointment or decide that you want to go and check it out. Now, I know you have movie nights, right? Which is that people can go and learn about it a little bit more. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so once a month we have what we call our free movie night, and we show a documentary, Hollywood documentary that was done about the power of upper cervical. So there's doctors talking about upper cervical, giving information about why it works, how the body works, then also testimonies, which are always fantastic, hearing other people talk about the successes that they've had and just the unusual things that you wouldn't necessarily think about going to a quote, quote, chiropractor for. But really, when you think about what we do and where we work, we literally affect the whole body. And I just want to say, go to I Am the Solution, you guys. That weekend is amazing. Last year was our first one there, and I was amazed. I think we were one of the last ones to get out of there, tying up our feet at the very end, because I'm telling you, you can get through this life using natural sources for your health instead of using our sick care industry.
Yeah.
And that's why Lily and I resonated so well back in 2014.
Yeah.
Still haven't had our glass of wine together yet, but
No, not
anyway.
yet.
But
Maybe
we
afterwards.
resonated, yes, we resonated so well because I love what you do
Thank you.
as far as getting the word out there about the different options that we have to heal our bodies naturally and to work, you know, with our innate intelligence, with the way the body can heal itself. So I just wanted to point that out to all of your listeners too. Please go to that weekend. You can change your life absolutely with all the information that will be provided.
Yeah.
Because we're a piece. We are a definite piece of the puzzle, but there's other things that you can do for your health for sure.
You know what I loved about the weekend was that all the speakers and most of the vendors, when people were speaking, they were all in the room. There was nothing going on outside. When the speakers were there, everybody wanted to learn and grow together. And I really believe that people have given their power away. They have given their power away, and they trust in someone who may or may not know how to get themselves well enough, let alone you well enough. And that is something that we need to take our health back. And, you know, it was kind of scary to do this the first year. And trust me, you know, as we go into the next year or this year, or our second annual summit, you know, I am just so excited for everybody who will be there. I know it's going to be a special day. So Dr. Renee, what are you going to be speaking of at the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit?
So our title is The Atlas, the Complete Brain to Body Connection. And it kind of goes with what we've already talked about, the fact of that is where your brain is communicating with the body. So you need to go there first. And that's for anything. I have a patient that 40 years ago, she was diagnosed with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, which to me is kind of an interesting diagnosis. So your bowels are mad, kind of, right? So when she's in alignment in the upper cervical region, she has no IBS symptoms. So it's really the nervous system not functioning correctly here that's communicating with the intestines so that her bowels can work correctly. So when we get this connection going again here, then her bowels can work correctly. We've had
Okay.
foot pain go away, so you can't get any further away from the neck than the feet, you know what I'm saying? But foot pain go away just from correcting that upper cervical spine.
I know that when I go there, it's always an adventure because, one leg is shorter than the other, or, so something else is your rib cages are rotated but I don't do it. I get so busy, and I must confess to all of you, I truly want to go there every month. But I feel so good that I'll go next month, or I'll go next month, and then I'll come dragging in. Oh, I did it again. I need 20 minutes. Oh, please adjust me. And of course, Dr. Renee's been so busy, so I got the privilege to be with Dr. Carissa, and I think we were both crying during that. It's like it just.
We were.
I think we both were crying. I don't know what it was, but it was like, oh, I think I know. We were talking about my relationship with my husband. You were trying to get to know me as you were torturing me because I could not even walk. I could not even walk. It was so severe. And, so you were trying to distract me, and all of a sudden I'm telling that you're releasing like pain, and it released emotion. Let's talk about the emotions that are trapped in the body. Who would like to take that one?
So I'll deal with that one
Dr.
right
Renee,
now.
okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because I'm personally experiencing that within the last, I'll say 6 months. I took a fall downtown Melbourne and kind of face planted, which shook up my world. I had a little concussion going on. And I thought I was doing fine until I wasn't. So I've had to go through a path of healing where upper cervical is a huge piece of it. But I think it also set off an emotional cascade in me, as far as emotions that I've buried over time, even emotions that have come up recently, because when I go out of alignment, I'll get irritable. You can ask my team. It's Dr. Carissa. I fully own that. I can be irritable, like really irritable, where I don't even want to be around myself, or I can be really weepy. So different emotions can come out when you're releasing things from the spine, for sure. And then when I get put back in alignment, I can feel that irritability go away. Another really quick one that I just had recently is a patient that actually flew in from Seattle to get this care again. He had been here a year ago, saw one of our doctors then, did amazing, and has been traveling around the country. And he saw a few different upper cervical doctors with the hand techniques. And the hand techniques are amazing. I'm not taking anything away from them. But for his particular case, it made a difference for the sound wave and the technology that we can do, because with our stylus, we can get into a tighter area than what they can with our hand. But what he pointed out when he first got corrected, he went into a laughing spell. And I've seen it happen one other time when I was a student, and I couldn't believe it. I went and got my staff doctor. I'm like, what is happening right now? I've seen them cry before, but went into a laughing spell. Like you could tell there was no faking it. So you can have emotions release from the spine when you correct them, which is absolutely amazing, because then they're definitely starting that road to healing for sure.
Yes. And so thank you for that. And thank you for sharing personally, because when we share personally, we give permission to other people dig deeper. Because I used to bring the Avasia product, which I've talked to you, and they're also at the event at the I Am the Solution. Let me tell you, I used to bring that product for 5 years before I attended a class. And I attended the class, and I purchased, this was back in 2017, and I purchased the Avasia. And 3 months after that, I was in a car accident. And you helped me through that as well, which was, I had 4 herniated discs, concussion, spinal compression, and my arm, I had a torn left tendon in my left arm. And had I not had that, I probably, I was told I was surgical. Had I not known this, I probably would have had surgery. Had I not, and I really do believe the classroom has saved my life. There's so many, I've got off all my asthma medication. I got off, I avoided surgery. I still have my gallbladder when they told me that I needed to take it out stat. So there are so many things that we don't know, we don't know. And once you know better, you do better. So how's it been for you, Dr. Carissa? You probably went through school. I don't know if you saw people have reactions, but now that you're been doing this for over a year and a half now, what has been your experience for the people that have experienced upper cervical chiropractic?
I love this question because I get to see miracles every single day as a fairly recent graduate. And that is not common in the chiropractic world. Usually you hear, oh, you need 20 years of experience before you get good. Or people say, you need to go see my chiropractor because this one's a good one, or this one's a good one. But through the Epic technique, because we're using technology and x-rays and sound waves, it's very duplicatable. So I'm still getting pretty close to the exact same results as Dr. Renee, who's been practicing longer than I have. So it's really, really exciting and refreshing and rejuvenating, inspiring to see miracles every day as a recent graduate.
Now, a follow-up question here, because I am
Yes.
really listening to you now. You graduated and you went to school, and there were people that chose different modalities, different directions, and you chose Epic, you chose upper cervical. Have you ever spoken to people that have chosen traditional? Can you compare and contrast?
Yes, ma'am. My absolute hands down best friend is practicing in Mississippi currently. We went through chiropractic school attached at the hip. We still are. She is a traditional chiropractor, gets good results, but I have found that she doesn't necessarily discuss patient results as much as I do. We FaceTime all the time, of course, right? And I get so excited of, oh, I had a patient with this and they experienced this today. They could walk out of my door with no vertigo, or the ring in their ears is gone, Bell's palsy. And I slowly started to realize she couldn't reciprocate. And I was like, man, part of me wants to keep saying it, but then I feel bad that she's not getting the same results. But then it turns around to, well, how can we make it better? How can we make chiropractic better? So I'm going through that right now. Great question.
Well, interestingly enough, because I'm sure that people have their limiting beliefs about chiropractic. And had I stopped, I mean, when I felt, I think they pulled a rib out or something. And I remember going to Dr. Renee, and that's been an issue with me where some of my ribs get out of alignment or something, and she pops them right back in. You pop it right back in, and you'll touch something and know, ooh, something is very angry. How is it for you that you can feel this as well? I mean, was this taught to you, or is this more people that are Epic upper cervical are more intuitive when they do their adjustments, or whatever you want to call them?
We are taught to feel the body in school. Like we're a very
Everybody,
hands-on profession. Yeah, no matter
okay.
what, for sure. But and we're not really popping it back in place. I'm gonna correct that.
Yeah.
Because we're really using the activator to do it. And yes,
Yeah.
it can be tender sometimes, because when other areas of the body are off, of course they can be tender. But the cool thing is that you can get them to go back in place with the upper cervical correction done. But okay, so here's a really good example of a doctor that left, a doctor that I absolutely loved, but her and her husband chose to go practice in another state with their family and so forth. But it's interesting because she chose to go with a more of a pregnancy child type of practice, and she veered away from upper cervical. She chose to use some of the other tools in her toolbox, so to speak. it's been interesting over the last couple of years that I've spoken to her off and on, because of course we've remained good friends, but she's made a couple of comments to me that I've caught that she'll say, you know, I miss the miracles of upper cervical. I miss the miracles that you get every day, because that's the difference. That's truly the difference in having what I would call a traditional chiropractic practice. And they still get miracles, don't get me wrong. But literally with upper cervical, you can see miracles in your office every day. It's just, I think at least every other day I'm crying happy tears with a patient because they've gotten better. So it's just the results are what keep me going. I'll be honest with you. It's some days are really hard in the practice taking care of so many patients, but when you hear the results and you hear them thank you for giving their life back and know that you're doing it in a gentle way, causing no harm to the spine whatsoever, to me, that makes it all worthwhile. And then just for what it's done for me personally, I would not be a normal human being without this care.
Yeah.
I would not. So it's
Yeah.
for me, it's just a miracle
Yeah.
every single day.
I'm telling you, had I not experienced it, had I not experienced Avasia, had I not experienced upper cervical, had I not experienced being drug-free, you know, I wouldn't know, had I not been in pain. So there was a purpose for the pain. And, you know, and so because I stepped into it and I'm telling you, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for the pain. I'm grateful, but at the same time, I'm like apprehensive because I know that getting through the pain can be difficult at times. But once we're done, I'm walking out of there feeling so much better. Now, with upper cervical, but by the way, I just want to mention again, we've got about 5 minutes left in the class. So make sure you text me at 407-373-5959. If you want free tickets, I'm going to give away 2 tickets. So one person to get 2 tickets, or 2 people can get 1 ticket apiece for free. So text me at 407-373-5959 and enter code Lily005, okay, for your free tickets. If you would like to go with a discount, you don't care about the free ticket, you just, you know, you want to get your tickets right away because, you know, space is limited now. So you can enter Lily005 when you cash out. You go to, when you need a friend.com, it'll pop up and then you can just click on it and go from there. So the questions I want to ask you is, somebody might be listening today and say, you know, that worked for them. And yeah, that's anecdotal, but I have such and such a thing. I have this diagnosis or that diagnosis. Let's start with you, Carissa, Dr. Carissa. What would you want to tell somebody that feels that what they have is not workable?
That there is hope. It is not the end. You are not done. You're not at a road end, deadlock, any of that. There is still hope. Obviously, we've kind of talked about with the miracles. And if this is something that's interesting, but not fully ready to jump on board, those free movie nights once a month are amazing. You really get an understanding of the little details that a lot of people have questions. Also with the movie nights, I give a little presentation. So I am there, and whatever questions these people have with what they've been diagnosed with, feel free to pick my brain, ask away. I can tell you what I've seen and how upper cervical can help them.
Wonderful. What about you, Dr. Renee? Thank you, Dr. Carissa.
So I always tell my patients this is a piece of the puzzle because of where we're working. It's always a piece of the puzzle. We could save insurance and Medicare so much money if they would consider us a primary doctor, because if you start there first, then see what you're left with. See what is not going to heal with just upper cervical, or has started to heal but might need some more help. But no matter what, because of the way the body is made scientifically, anatomically, because of where we're working, it is always a piece of the puzzle. And you should never lose hope, just like Dr. Chris was saying, because there is always hope. You should never underestimate what kind of healing the body can do if it is allowed to do so.
Mhm. Well said, well said. Now, with that in mind, how important, because you said it's a part of the puzzle, is lifestyle choices. Go.
So that's an interesting question because sometimes it amazes me where I'll have some patients that aren't making such great life choices and it still works. They might be one of the longer holding patients. They might have some serious weight on them because we know we have an overweight problem in our country. Those patients still do well, even with low back pain, so it's amazing to me sometimes that some people that are unhealthy people, because they're not making good lifestyle changes, still will do better. Now, obviously, our patients that are making good lifestyle choices, can do better for sure, than the ones that aren't. But healthcare is truly about making good choices throughout your life. It's a choice. How you age is your choice. It truly is.
It really is. You know, people say, oh, you're going to die from something. You're going to die from something. And what I say is, yeah, but while you're living, how do you want to live? You
Mhm.
know, so everybody's going to die, but how do you want to live? That's the question that we answer at I Am the Solution. We want to make sure that that intuitive voice, because you know, I don't know how many times I've said while I'm face down or face up at the table of Upper Cervical Chiropractic or Epic Centers or whatever, that I've said, how do you do this? How does this happen? You know, that should be the name that you should choose next. So how does this happen? How can I be pain free? And you know, we take these things for granted. And they say that a healthy person has many dreams, but a sick person has only one. And I hope that all of you choose to have many dreams by holding on to this higher power that's within us, that intuitive nature that makes us want to choose health and wellness as naturally as possible. Now, this is not a cut on um, allopathic. This is not a cut on any of that. But there's a place for everything. There's a place for even medication, but not for the rest of your life. And so if you can do something small, and like Dr. Renee was saying, you know, even if you're not doing this perfectly, you'll still receive benefits. And start small, and each time we go bigger and bigger, and hopefully you'll make it to the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit and feel like you're being shot out of a cannon with a lot of information for health. So I want to thank the two of you for coming on. Thank you so much, Dr. Renee, Dr. Carissa, for being part of today's class. This is a dream come true. It's taken 10 years to make it happen, but I'm glad that it happened. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Lily.
you for
We
having
appreciate
us.
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. And I appreciate you too. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott, Dr. Renee, and Dr. Carissa wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day
Ever!
Oh my God, that was the best. Good job.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any